Come here. Oh, good boy. Can you sit right here? Can you sit? Hi everyone, my name is Natalie, also known as Knitty Natty. Welcome to the 30th episode of the Love and Stitches podcast. Today is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, and as you can see, I am in a different location. So I am actually throwing it back to like my first few episodes, and I am back in my old location. So I used to have to be in this location because there's a window right behind where the camera is, and that would give me my light before I got lights. And so I am using the lights today. As you can see, it is very bright. I actually played with the lighting a lot, and I don't think it's the lights. When I turn the lights off or just use one light or move the lights back, it just gets like dark everywhere. I think it's this that's causing my face to be so bright, because when I cover it up completely, see a little better. So anyway, we're just gonna deal with it. It's okay, I can be super duper bright. I like sitting in this location because one, I get to have Toaster here. I tried to get him to come down. Sometimes just organically, he will sit on the steps. Toaster is my dog, our dog, and we just picked him up from being boarded for Labor Day weekend, and so I think he's really tired. So I don't know, he's probably just sitting up on our second floor. But I have some different things back here than I used to. We finally got like a table. I also have a yarn, it's hard to point that way, a yarn wall hanging there. This room is still not quite finished, but when it is, I will give you guys the tour of my yarn room. So it is, of course, we have to talk about the weather. It is really hot here in Texas. I was just taking some pictures outside. Our tiny little backyard gets sun, but shade. Like, it's still sunny outside, but it gets shade at this time of day, which is about like 6 o'clock in the evening. And it's perfect for photos, but it's so hot. I was like crying, it was so hot. Actually, I need to drink more water thinking of that. So let's get started with the knitting. Yeah, did I say I did a throwback to this location so that Toaster could be in it? I don't think I ever brought it around to that, but yeah, I wanted to, some people said they're missing Toaster, and so I thought, well, we'll do a podcast from the old location just one time, and it's my 30th episode, so that seemed like the perfect time, and now I just have to see if Toaster will come back down. So we'll see. I'm so bright. I hope it's okay. I did get new makeup, but I don't think that's what it is. Okay, so first I have a finished object. My new shawl design, Louisiana Street, is coming out in just a couple weeks on September 13th, and I have finished my sample version. So this, here, I'll show it to you first, and then I'll tell you more about it, because I have only been showing little tiny bits of it. And very soon I will have an entire separate video, my love letter to the Louisiana Street shawl, and I will tell you even more details about it and the concept of the design. So it is a asymmetrical triangle. Here's that white, like more stitches end, and to the skinny end, it is essentially a right triangle shawl. I knit mine in 3 colors. I know it's a little hard to tell when the screen is so bright, but this pink is Long Dog Yarns in First Blush. This more neutral is Long Dog Yarns in Wild Child. And the green is Long Dog Yarns in Evergreen. So this is such a fun knit. It's just really simple. Something that I set out to do with this shawl is think of things that are enjoyable and simple, and then think of things that are not enjoyable about shawls and try to change that. So I'm gonna give you a little sneak peek of what will be on the Love letter. But this shawl is knit a little differently. I have never knit a shawl this way or seen one knit this way. I'm sure it exists out there, but this shawl is actually knit from the widest point to the smallest point. So yay! It makes things so much better because usually when you start a shawl, at least in my experience, you start down here at the skinny end and you have so much motivation for about that long. And then your rows start to get long and it's a slog. So this shawl actually starts with casting on all of these stitches here. It's really not even that many, and it's not bad at all. But you start with those and then you get that slog out of the way in the beginning. From here to here is probably like more than half of the stitches. It took me a couple of weeks, I think. It shouldn't have, but it did take me a couple weeks to get this far, and then like 2 days to do all of that. So there you go. Yeah, so it's just really easy. There's texture, there's garter, there's color play. You can have just two, it's fingering weight. I used a size 6 needle. I think some of my testers are having to go up. I'm a bit of a loose knitter. And yeah, you need 2 skeins of fingering weight. You can do, so I chose really subtle colors. That's why I picked like a pop of color to do for these few stripes. It's just a mini, you don't use much of it. Or you can do 2 contrasting colors. So this was my prototype before I got the yarn. And this obviously has much more of a contrast. Things have changed a little bit from this shawl to the final version. I made a mistake here. This section and the other texture section got shortened and the garter section at the end got longer. So a few things have changed from this version, but you can see what it would look like with more of a contrast versus something that is really subtle. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed, I made 2 of these shawls and it was a lot of fun. So this is a design for McKinney Knittery and it will be at their shop for a couple weeks during the North Texas Yarn Crawl, and I think that does start on, well, I put the date at the bottom, but it does start around September 13th because that's why I picked that day for the release date. So you will be able to see this version there with Long Dog yarns, and Long Dog yarn has so many beautiful colors. A couple of my testers also used Long Dog yarns and they picked like brights that contrast more and they looked so good. So I'm really excited. I have a couple testers that have already finished and then everyone is getting close. They have a couple more weeks anyway, so yeah, I'm really excited. But let me show you what this looks like on. Let me get up on my knees again. I'm about to knock something off here. So this is meant, well, it can be worn really 2 ways. Gotta get it on the right side here. So it is a asymmetrical triangle. You can see that when I pick it up here that I've got a longer end and a shorter end. So it is long enough to just wrap around. Now this is blocked. When I blocked it, I stretched the width a lot. You can wear it just like a triangle shawl. This is how I wear most of mine anyway. So you can wear it like that. But what it's really good for is taking that shorter tail, longer end, going over your shoulder, and then coming around with the longer tail and just letting it hang like that. So you've got a tail in the back and a tail in the front. So that's something else that always drives me crazy about these right triangle shawls, is that the widest end is not enough to stay over your shoulder. So this one is enough. It will stay on its own again, but you could also use one of these. So these have been gaining popularity in the past couple months. This is a shawl cuff and it is made of leather, and as you can see, you just pop it through here. I haven't done this one very many times, so it takes a little working, but then your shawl is definitely gonna stay on. Plus it's just kind of cute. It kind of like amps things up a bit. So this shawl cuff was sent to me by the lovely Rusted Stitch. And sorry, I'm trying to get it arranged so that that part's in the front. Come on now. There we go. So now you don't have to worry about your shawl coming off at all, because even if this fell down, like, it would still stay on. This is also long enough if you don't enjoy that hanging in the back, you can wrap it around to this side and just kind of tuck it under out of the way. There you go. Perfect. So I will talk so much more about Louisiana Street in my love letter, which will come out on pattern release day. But yeah, so I'm so excited that it is done and it turned out how I envisioned, and I also really love the shawl cuff. And I keep saying and because I have more. What's really exciting is that I have a shawl cuff from the Rusted Stitch to give away to you guys. It looks exactly like this one, this gorgeous kind of medium brown, except that I haven't bent it at all. It's still exactly flat how it came in the package. So if you want to enter to win a beautiful shawl cuff, you can use it on, of course, a Louisiana Street if you're gonna make it, but it works for every shawl. So you can definitely find something that you've made or want to make that it will work for. If you want to enter to win, I'm gonna give it away on this episode. So all you need to do, let's keep it really simple, is just be a subscriber and then comment on this video. Anything you want, you can comment. The Rusted Stitch, I'll put her information down here. She makes some really great cuffs. This is probably one of the simpler ones. I told her, I'm simple, this is a simple shawl. I like a simple, simple stuff. So I think it just adds like a nice finishing touch to the shawl. So excited about Louisiana Street. I'll have to put some pictures, hopefully I did, put some pictures in for my testers so you can just see what it looks like in all different kinds of ways. Okay, so now let's talk about whips. I am still working on my Polyjuice Potion socks from Lolo Did It. Actually, I finished one and I didn't even get a blocker, and I'm not going to. It doesn't look that good. You'll see it blocked when it's done. But I made these kind of, medium, like short leg, but not a shorty. And I used a really fun like neon green to contrast with. So I think I was here last week and I finished the sock. And this color is called Polyjuice Potion by Lolo Did It. And I've just barely started the second sock. I did cast it on Saturday before we went to a football game, and then I didn't work on it at all. But I did get this much done this morning during my morning duty. So that's pretty good. Hopefully I can start working through the sock pretty quickly so that I have a finished pair soon, because I'm already ready to work on another color, right? I'm excited for that. So those are my socks this week. I'm gonna move my Progress Keeper over while I'm doing this. My super cute Progress Keeper that I have shown before, but it is from Simply Serving, and it's a, come on Natalie. There we go. It's just like the cutest little Halloween candy bucket. So I'm gonna stick that on so I can see how much I can do until next week. There we go, that is that. Since I finished the shawl, Louisiana Street, I just finished it and blocked it last night. So I was excited to pull out my Like a Cloud cardigan. I do have it still in this bag, which makes me think of Halloween, from the Ginger U, and I love it still. I put in, I think, 4 rows on this cardigan today, so that counts. I hadn't worked on it in forever, but this is, let me pull it up. This is a cardigan. It's Like a Cloud by Joji Locatelli, and I am still working my way down the body. The rows are pretty long. I mean, it's not a huge sweater. There's no band or anything on it. But I'm about 8 inches into 12 for the body, and then there's, I believe, 4 inches of ribbing for my size. So I did a little bit. I mean, I didn't move the Progress Keeper from the last time, so I probably only did like 4 rows today. But this yarn is so soft, and I was like really excited for lunch today so I could start knitting on it again, because it just feels so nice to knit. These are 2 different yarns from Shibui. One is, I think the plied one is, wow, come on, is Seema. Now I'm dropping the product on the floor. The plied one is Seema, and this mohair silk is Silk Cloud. And both of them are the colorway something. Oh, here's the Silk Cloud. They are the colorway, nope, I think they're different. This one's Graphite, and this one is Tar. Graphite and Tar held together. So it's creating a very like shiny look, which is cool. I can't wait to wear that cardigan in like 5 months. What is it, September? It's early September, so it'll be cold enough to wear it in maybe January. It takes a while for it to get cold here. So September, pretty much September, October, November, December, January. 5 months-ish. It'll take a while. But so those are my only 2 whips right now. Really and truly, besides scrappy blankets, which I just haven't touched in a long time. So I am dreaming up some more things to work on. I am going to be starting a new shawl design. Actually, I started swatching for it, but it's gonna take a while before that one is ready to show. And I am starting another design, an accessory for my Fall Means Football collection. That one will go a lot quicker and should come out sooner than the shawl. So I have nothing to show yet, but hopefully I will have something for the Fall Means Football collection next week. Last year I released 3 patterns for Fall Means Football, a hat, a bottle cozy, and a pair of socks. So those 3 patterns are available separately or in a collection. I can link them, but they're just all loosely football related and 2 colors so that you can make them in team colors. Oh, and I'm also dreaming up. So Stephen West has a shawl mystery knit along every October, and I did it last year for the first time. I wanted to do it 2 years ago, but it was too late. Like they had started already, and you know, his shawls are so big. But I told myself I was gonna do it that following year, which was last year, and it was such fun. I did not prepare enough though. Like I should have had like no major whips going on when it started so I could keep up. So that's my plan for this year. So the information about the mystery knit along is already released, and I'm going to a yarn store on Saturday, so I'm gonna get my yarn then hopefully. But you need 4 skeins of yarn and in 2 colors, so 2 colors of each, and they're supposed to be contrasting. I think it's a geometric shape. All the information's on Ravelry if you are interested in participating, if a mystery shawl knit along sounds fun to you. Basically you just go buy the pattern like you would normally buy a pattern, and you get a download of the information, and then every week in October you get a new couple of pages for that week's pattern. And it's really fun. It's so fun. It's 1 pattern, but you get like the first section and so on. It builds. So I can't wait for that. I am planning ahead, since we're about a month out, on what projects I want to have done before that happens. So definitely some of my designs. I want those out of the way so I don't have to worry about them during the knit along. Okay, so now I'm gonna go into my Ask Me. I got a couple questions on the Ravelry thread. So if you want to ask me a question, you can just go to the Ravelry group Love and Stitches and click on the Ask Me thread. So I have 2 questions, or 2 people I'm gonna answer this week. So the first is from Lena Loves Yarn, and she gave me a pronunciation. I always want to say pronunciation, but it's pronunciation, right? You pronounce a word, but it's a pronunciation, I think. She told me how to say her name, which I really appreciate. So Lena Loves Yarn says, "Hi Natalie, as I've been knitting more socks and wearing them over the last couple years, some have been getting holes in them. I have repaired them, but a couple pairs keep getting new holes in new places very frequently. I really like 2 pairs and don't want to get rid of them." So she has a couple questions here. 1, have you come across any yarn that just doesn't work for socks? So yeah, I would say some yarns are more suited for socks than others. As a general rule, yarn that is applied tighter seems to withstand more wear and tear. I generally like a merino nylon blend. I am a fan of the 75-25 blend, which seems to be a lot more hardy than an 80-20. So what I mean by that is 75% merino, superwash merino wool. The superwash I think helps too. And 25% nylon. It's usually a 4-ply, I think, at least 3, maybe I think a 4-ply 75-25. It is kind of shiny. It almost is, it's like very slack if you like pull out it doesn't have bounce to it, and that's because it is like treated to no end. And it is, I think, very sturdy for socks. That's what almost all of my socks are out of. I would definitely stay away from single ply yarn for socks because it's just going to felt. I will tell you though, even with my sturdier yarns, I tend to get felted patches on the balls of my feet, and I think that's mostly because my feet get really hot and sweaty. And that's why I usually wear my hand knit socks like around the house and not out and about, because my feet get too hot and then they sweat and then they felt my socks, which I don't like. That's probably more with my like older pairs of socks that like that hand-dyed yarn wasn't so standardized. But stay away from single plies, stay away from anything that's just like 100% merino wool. Even 100% superwash, I'd be a little wary of. I think I would get something with nylon in it. 80-20 is good, but I think 75-25 4-ply is better. And that's just my personal opinion, and everyone's feet are different. So you might have another opinion. Maybe you can comment below or comment on the Ask Me thread and let Lena know what works for you. Okay, she also asked, did you say you were going to display some of your socks that you don't wear during the summer? I'm thinking about that, but not sure what to do. If I did say that, I don't remember saying that. That sounds like something I would say though, because I like to be able to enjoy my knits. I wish he would come down here. But I do kind of have mine on display right now. On top of my dresser, I have like a wooden box that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I put my socks together and then I roll them up and stack them vertically so they're just like look cute in there. And then I have another wooden thing that has like just little sections like about that big in it that are rectangular, and I again roll my socks and stuff them in there. So those are both sitting on my dresser, so technically they are kind of displayed. As my collection grows, potentially I could think about getting some like open shelving. I don't really, like, all of my clothes, everything that I wear, all of my yarn is out and open. I don't have anything stored anywhere. So I'm not super worried about like bugs and stuff getting into it, because it's getting looked at and turned over pretty frequently. If you were gonna put it away somewhere, I guess you wouldn't be displaying it if you put it away. You might have to be more careful about getting something airtight. And then last question from Lena. She said, do you or knitters in general throw away socks that have worn out? It feels so weird with all the work and expensive yarn, but what else can you do with them? So I have thrown out socks before. I like to quote the yarn harlot here because she has, I think it's in one of her books, a short story where her dad or somebody asked her to darn some socks, and she goes, okay, and takes the socks and walks over to the trash can and says, darn it, and throws them away. I think that's the yarn hoarder, but I thought that was so funny. And it just depends on the socks. I would probably not ever repair any of my own socks. I would rather knit another pair than try to figure out how to repair them. I do have a friend, however, that does repair socks. Her husband wears them every day, I think, just about. And so she does repair socks. I believe she does it in a few different ways, where she'll kind of, if there's a hole, she'll kind of pick up stitches like a few rows above and below the hole, knit a patch, and then somehow attach it on the sides. I don't know quite how she does that. You can also do like the very traditional darning where you like make, and I have not done this before, so I'm probably not explaining it well, and I'm sure there's YouTube videos, but basically you make like a S zigzag kind of thing, and then you kind of weave through it maybe. I've done a tiny repair before. I can't remember if it was on a sock or not, where I did something similar. I kind of went in the stitches around it and then made like duplicate stitches. But whatever you can do, I don't know, for me it wouldn't be worth it unless it was some kind of special yarn, maybe that you couldn't get any more and really loved. So that's totally up to you, and maybe it depends on how big the hole is. Maybe they're just sitting on the couch socks with a little bit of air conditioning from now on. But let us know, what do you do with your socks that get holes in them? Do you repair them? What do you do? So you can go to the Ask Me thread to reply directly to Lena, or you can answer here. Hopefully she'll see that too. Okay, one more question. This one is from my friend, my friend Sarah, except I've never known how to say your handle. I think it's I always say SEO doc in my head, but I don't know what it is exactly. I should have asked you that before I said this, but she said she's got 2 questions. One, what is the best way to approach knitting at work with your coworkers and boss? Now that I work in a school, I feel like there are meetings and trainings I could be knitting at, but I don't want people to think I'm not listening or paying attention. I really don't want to waste precious knitting time, amen. But I also don't want people to think I'm not taking work seriously. So that's such a good question. I do knit at work. I'm a teacher all the time. I have knit in a lot of different settings, and I'm actually planning to make a separate video for knitting in public in a little while. It's gonna be after my basic knits and crochet series, so you will have to wait, but I am gonna answer that question super soon. I love that question. Second one I'm gonna answer now. She said, I'm knitting a So Faded sweater, which is by Andrea Mowry, and I peeped your mods, and I'm interested in trying to split the hem that you did. So basically I made some modifications to my So Faded sweater, and I have it here. I'm going to talk about those. She said, I'm thinking I would like the fit better. Can you go into a little more detail about how and why you modify garment patterns for your body type? Okay, so that I am going to talk about here. So I have said quite a few times that I have a shape that is not unique. Many people have this shape. Many people have shapes that are harder to fit than mine. Blah, I had a fuzz, probably mohair. Just like commercial clothing doesn't fit every body, patterns are not written to fit every body. Unless it's a custom fit sweater pattern, garment pattern, you can't expect it to always fit you. And that took me a long time to come to that realization, because you take your bust measurement, which is usually what the sweater is, what the given measurements are, and then you pick a size, and then you're like, why doesn't it fit? So my body type is narrow and small in the bust and gets wider at the hips. So usually an A-line shape will solve that problem for me, which is actually a really easy modification to make. So I'm gonna pause for just a second and get some more water, and then I will explain to you how I do that, how I did it here, and how I would do it differently with new knowledge that I have. Okay, so here is my So Faded by Andrea Mowry. This is a pattern that you can make, actually I think it's either 3/4 or long sleeves, but as you can see, I made mine like no sleeves, pretty much. It's really cute. It's meant to be, I can't remember if this was her first faded garment, but I've actually got 4 colors here. I don't remember what they are, but they are linked on my Ravelry page, and I know at least some of them are Woolen Boon, if not all of them. But yeah, it's just I guess this is a crew neck, right? Little top with believe a little bit of shaping in here and ribbing on the bottom. So when I knit this, it was a couple years ago. Let me see, I meant to pull it up before I talked about it, but when I knit this, I had a lot less knowledge of like how of my body kind of, and just how to plan garments to fit. Here we go. So I knit this in April of 2018, so not that long ago, but it was before I really took the time to like look at a pattern and make sure I was picking the right thing for me, and two, how to fit me. So I picked my size. I don't know what size that I made. Potentially a small. This thing is really small. Like I would never pick this size now. Potentially a small, that's probably what I measured for. And then started to knit it, and it went pretty fast. I remember getting down to here, and I would try it on because it's a top-down garment. And I was like, this is not gonna work. So you can see that I actually split the hem on that. And that's one simple way you can modify for a body type that is smaller on the top and larger on the bottom, by giving yourself a split hem. Now let me see if I can get this on. I have an end sticking out, which is annoying. But as you can see, it's pretty stretchy, but I'm guessing that I probably actually have negative ease here. But that becomes a little more pronounced here at the bottom. Not too bad. I mean, look, you can see my hips stick out a little bit. It's not too bad. I really do need to wear this. And like I said, I think there was there shaping? Maybe there wasn't any shaping, which is an issue, because if you do measure smaller in the bust than your hips and you don't do anything about it, it is gonna be so tight on you in your hips. So this little split hem was a really easy way to do it. I have it on my Ravelry page, but it looks like I probably started doing like a slip stitch. I could take this back off to show it to you. I was just putting it on so you could kind of see the sleeves and the split hem, but it looks like I probably did change the ribbing so that I had like a slip stitch on the edge. I don't know why I did that. It looks nice, right? Better probably than just leaving it as a knit and a purl. But yeah, so I made that modification, and then I also just bound off the sleeves instead of making a sleeve. So let's talk about if I were making this pattern now. One, I probably would have chosen a different bust size. I really don't like zero ease or negative ease garments. So that would just mean that like if I chose a zero ease size, then my bust measurement was the same. Hello? What was that? That was weird. Okay. Anyway, what zero ease would mean is that my bust measurement would be the same as the finished measurement of the sweater. So some patterns will give you only like bust measurements, which is frustrating, but good patterns will also give you finished measurements. So whether it's a finished bust size or a schematic that tells you like how big the actual garment is going to measure, that's really important to look at. Just because we're both like a 36, let's say, I might want to knit something that's actually 40 inches wide, and you might want to make something that's is 36 and hugs you tight. And you know, anyway, I would just pick something that has a little more ease. I would look at the instead of just looking at bust measurements, I would look at the garment, the finished size of the garment. And then even still, I would have to make modifications. Even choosing something a little big for like a few inches bigger than my bust, it's not gonna fit my hips. So while I don't mind the split hem, it actually looks really cute. The other thing that I did is instead of going down a needle size like you typically would for ribbing, I didn't want it to pull in at all. So I stayed with the same size needle that I did for the stockinette with the ribbing. And then when I blocked it, I made sure it stayed out nice. And then that way I'm not getting a huge splay at the side. But what I would do differently now, I might still do the split hem, but I would also do some increases. So since this is top down, I would start the increases after I finish like the raglan, and basically, oh, it does look like there's a little bit. Did I add in a couple stitches? I haven't looked at this closely enough, but I would figure out like how big around it is here, versus how big around I want it to be when I got it down here, and figure out and basically do the math to figure out like how many stitches that needs to be, how many stitches I need to increase. And then I would spread those out over either inches or rows if I knew how many rows I wanted to do, and just go from there. So let's say that, and this I learned in a class with Amy Herzog, and when she told us how to do that, I was like, it's so simple. It's really not even super hard. I would just say, let's see if I can think of some easy math. Let's say my gauge is 5 stitches to the inch, and I need to go from, I'm gonna make it really small. This is not my measurements. I would need to go from 20 inches at the bust to 30 inches at the hips, okay? That's like really tiny. That's not what I am. But that would mean I need to increase, wait, what did I say? 20 inches. Oh wait, I made this too hard. So 20 times 5 is 100, right? Which means 30 times 5 is what? 150? So from 100 to 150, so I need to increase 50 stitches. If I'm doing this all wrong when I'm watching it later, I'm just gonna cut it out. I'm bad at doing math in my head. I teach reading. Okay, so let's say I have to go from 100 to 150 stitches over 50 rows. That would never happen, but that's what we're gonna say. Then I would know I need to increase 1 stitch in every row for 50 rows. And then I would have the slope that I needed. That was such a bad explanation. I hope that made somewhat some sense to you, but I am still happy with how this turned out. It's really cute. I just need to wear it more often once it gets a little cooler outside. But now that I know that about my body, I am able to make modifications. I actually was thinking about my Like a Cloud today. It is a straight down garment. It has a decent amount of ease, but it's still gonna be, since it's a cardigan, I don't have to worry about it as much, because obviously this one's not meant to be closed, but obviously cardigans will still fit you. If they fit you up here, they just won't come around your larger part as much. So I think I'm just gonna leave that. I'm not gonna worry about adding increases into that. But if I do a pullover, again, I will definitely do the math, the easy math in the beginning, to figure out how to make that fit my body. All right, just a few quick life things. Wow. And then we're done. I'm needing so much water today, and I got a little bit of ice. Sorry about that. So just a few life things. This past weekend was Labor Day and football season started, and we had a tailgate for the Oregon-Auburn game, which was here in Dallas, and it was my first time to go to AT&T Stadium or Cowboys Stadium or whatever it's called, and see a game there, and it was so cool. They always say that the Jumbotron is the biggest, and it was so big. It was super cool. So I'm super excited for football being back, and more football again every Saturday for the whole fall. And speaking of football, I am pulling up right now the Pigskin Party Knit Along. It's actually a make along, I think, but knit along is just a generic term now that I think means make all things, which it shouldn't be, but it is. So this is hosted by Jen, who's Boston Jen of Downseller Studio, and this is her 6th year, I think. I was listening to her podcast, her audio podcast this morning, and I was a sponsor, snack, I think I was one of the smaller sponsors last year, and I am again this year, which just means if you use one of my patterns, you get more points in the knit along. Also, I'm going to be putting a coupon code in the thread over at the Downseller Studio podcast Ravelry group if you want to go check that out and get some discounts on my patterns. I will be putting that out by the time this video comes up. But I'm also having offering a prize, patterns as a prize. So that's what it means for me to be a sponsor, but I think that I am actually going to participate this year. So I'm gonna read you the description of the cowl, and then you can go look into it if you are interested. Since it's been going on for many years, there's lots of like different things that you can do, or you can just keep it simple, and I love make-alongs that are like that. So what is the Pigskin Party Cow? It is an annual knit, crochet, weaving, and spin-along hosted in the Downseller Studio podcast Ravelry group that runs during the NFL football season. The more you finish, the more touchdowns and field goals you'll score, and the more points you earn. You can also increase your score by using products from our awesome sponsors or meeting other challenges and by recruiting new team members. The more points you have, the more entries you get for the prize drawings, and these prizes are amazing. We also have lots of prizes reserved for participation on Ravelry and Instagram to keep it fun and light if you're not a hardcore player. You can participate in as much or as little as you like. In short, it's 5 months, whole NFL football season, of fun, chatter, and some good healthy banter, and of course, prizes. So it actually starts Thursday, September 5th, which is the day this podcast is coming out, through February 3rd, 2020. So basically what you do is you just knit on anything. You have to start it on September 5th or later and finish it by February 3rd, but every project you finish, you total up the yardage, and your yardage counts for like touchdowns and field goals. You can get more points by using sponsor products or patterns and using like team colors. There's like a different mini challenge every month. It's so much fun. I always listen from the bench, from the sidelines, and but I've never participated. So I think I'm gonna participate this year. I am not going to go crazy. I'm not gonna like set aside other whips that I have in favor of the ones I start after Thursday, but I think I'll keep track. It sounds like a lot of fun. So if you're interested in participating too, go over to Jen's Ravelry group, Downseller Studio podcast. You should also give her audio podcast a listen. It's a lot of fun. And what else? You can get coupon codes for my patterns over there too, as long as you're one of her Ravelry group members, I believe. So yeah, that's it. That's another thing I am scheming of. I'm just planning so many things. And then the last thing, this weekend, I was working on organizing my pantry, which is, some people might think, ew, why would I want to do that? But for me, it's really fun and exciting and feels so nice to refresh. So I'll put some video in here, but basically I pulled everything out of the pantry, reorganized it, put some labels on these tubs that I already had, and put them back. I did a little bit of rearranging, took stuff from cabinets into the pantry and from the pantry out into the cabinets. And I also I'm not quite done. I have some really great vinyl labels coming that are gonna go on those plastic tubs that will look so nice. And I have turntables to go in every corner of that pantry space. So I don't have video of that yet because they have not come from Amazon, but I will be showing that on Instagram. I did go through and talk about how I thought through some of the organizing, and I put it on my Instagram stories, and then somebody said, can you save these to your highlights? Because it was helpful and they wanted to go back later. So I thought that was a good idea. So you can actually view all of those stories anytime on my profile page. You just have to go click on the highlight that says Pantry Org. I think that's what I named it. But yeah, if you are interested in organization for any kind of closet, then that might help you out. I enjoyed it. It was fun. It took me a few hours, and which wasn't too bad. I was watching TV at the same time. But I think that's it for this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry that Toaster didn't make much of an appearance. I had to call him down here just to get him to come down, which is such a bummer. But hope you enjoyed the throwback episode 30. Don't forget to enter to win the shawl cuff. Yours will be beautiful and not like cracked yet from the rusted stitch. And I will see you guys very soon. Bye.